Hey, what's going on? It's Scott. I worked in law enforcement for several years, and I can say without a doubt that the experiences and what I learned while serving in the United States Marine Corps definitely helped me out when it came to working as a police officer. So if you are in the military now and thinking about getting into civilian law enforcement once you get out of service, let me tell you just how much the military experiences can benefit you in law enforcement. The first thing I would have to say is the discipline factor.
You lack discipline.
Particularly in the Marines, when I was in, we probably recited it 900,000 times when I was down at Parris Island for boot camp. Discipline is the instant willingness and obedience to all orders, self-reliance, and teamwork. My gosh, that was over 20 years ago. I was at Parris Island, and I can still recite that without even thinking twice about it. But seriously, the discipline to put in the work, the discipline to stay physically fit, which is necessary in law enforcement, hands down. The discipline to get reports done when they need to get done, just that overall discipline factor. The next thing I have to say is the rank and file, for lack of a better phrase. The structure at a police department kind of mirrors that of the military, and it won't be anything unfamiliar to you. When I started, there were some guys that I went through rookie school with that didn't have military experience, so they weren't very familiar with rank. One of the guys was told to do a ride-along with a patrol officer, and a sergeant walks in, and the guy I was going through rookie school with looked at that sergeant and said, "Officer such and such," and the sergeant, who actually had military experience, said, "You better get to learn your ranks around here."
You lack discipline.
So needless to say, my experience in the Marines, getting familiar with rank and how you respect the chain of command, and even if you don't like somebody, you respect their rank. Now, obviously, it's the same in policing as it is in the military. If someone gives you an unethical order, you are expected to bring that up to the right people, and that can be addressed. But when talking about things that normally occur, respecting the rank, knowing how to operate through the chain of command, all that kind of stuff, it was definitely easier to work through. The next thing, which kind of relates to discipline, but ultimately in the Marines, my experience was when you were told to do something, just got it done. Like, that was it. We just got it done. And yeah, we would probably get it done. Like, I worked in communications, so we would set up the antennas, set up the radios, and then they would say, "Oh yeah, by the way, we're gonna need those over there." The same thing can happen in policing. You get an order, you get a task to be done, and even if you don't like it, you just get it done. And heck, I can tell you right now, the experiences I had in the Marines, particularly when I was deployed twice to Iraq, those experiences I faced in Iraq when in the Marines, the experiences in policing didn't hold a candle to those experiences in Iraq. So, if an officer said, "Hey, I need you to direct traffic," regardless of how the weather was, I was like, "No problem." Because guess what the great thing is? Unlike in the military, at the end of policing, you get to go home. So if they gave you a crappy task to take care of all shift, so what? You get to go home at the end of shift. That's a great thing. And you can't say you can always go home in the military, particularly if you're out doing field ops or something like that. But it did help with getting tasks and personal goals for the career completed. Like, not procrastinating about them at all. Not saying procrastination didn't happen, but there was always that discipline to get the task done. The next thing is, and particularly for the Marines, attention to detail. I really valued putting that attention toward the detail of how my uniform looked, even down to how my bootlaces were tied. But the attention to detail on reports, the attention to detail when communicating with people, that being second nature helped in policing. Now, I know there are people who are watching this video who works with me, and they're thinking, "No, there's plenty of things you missed on reports." Yeah, I know, because I was in a hurry, and I admit that. I own that mistake.
You lack discipline.
Back to the topic. The next thing I would have to say is what you've learned in the military regarding waking up early, getting your fitness routine in. That helped a lot in policing, because fitness is not only essential for job performance, because you don't want to be the first one to run out of air before the bad guy or the bad gal. You don't want to run into a situation where you're physically exhausted and can't help protect people and yourself or fellow officers. And physical fitness is terrific for your mental health. So I've really found that I would wake up early when I worked day shift to get in a workout routine, because I knew at the end of shift I was wanting to go home and relax, not work out. Everybody's different, but the fitness aspect was consistent throughout my career because of how the Marines instilled it in me. The next thing I would say was very beneficial was just working with a big diverse group of people in the Marines definitely helped in policing. When crap hit the fan, even if we didn't get along during downtime or on base or whatever the case is, working with many different types of people really helped in policing. Because in policing, yeah, there's obviously a diverse group of people within the police department, but you're going to be out in the public interacting with a lot of different types of people. The next thing, which is definitely important, is the training you learned on tactics, being tactical and having that mentality of winning in a fight. Sometimes there are dangerous situations that happen, and it doesn't matter how many skills you implement for de-escalation and talking someone down, you ultimately can't control their actions. And people decide to get violent at times, and you respond to violent people, a violent crowd. The tactics and the mindset you learned in the military and what I learned in the Marines definitely helped. Now, I know there's going to be people to say, this isn't war. How dare you compare the two? You're right, it's not. But when crap hits the fan, there's something about letting fear get the best of you and turning and running the other way, which you can't do, or doing your job and with that much more confidence and that much more ability to do it right. So you can never underestimate the tactics you learn in the military and implement them effectively and right, as long as it's within the law and policy of the state and then the department where you work. And last but not least, this is something I noticed personally from being in the Marines and being down at Parris Island back in 2001. I mean, just the drill instructors yelling in my face constantly, particularly those first few weeks. Got into policing, someone would yell at me. It didn't bother me one bit. Considering what I'd been exposed to, it's just something to think about. I really do believe that military experience can help you tremendously in policing, and I could go on and on about the different aspects that are beneficial. I'm just hitting the highlights right now. So once again, if you are thinking about getting in after military service, can't recommend it enough. Just look for a good department and use what you learned in the military to only help you in policing. Thanks for watching. Go ahead and click right here to start thriving and not just surviving and getting by in life, especially during these challenging times for law enforcement officers. Take care of yourself, and may God bless.